that's fine. Don't worry about it. When you come to Speakerscorner,
so good looking, I thought you
don't look so worried about being videoed because there are like 50 cameras here. Everyone's looking to film something. So carry on, don't worry about that.
No, this is something I want to organize between us first before we do anything.
Yeah, no problem. We're not having a discussion now. We can organize it. We can talk about the same topic, exactly the same topic. What basis do you have to reject the hadith if you are a Quranist? This is the topic I want to discuss.
Well, the topic that I came with you to initially was, what is the Quranic basis for that? So you gave an example at the time, so I decided I didn't have it in my mind because I need to...
I'm arguing that you have no basis to believe in the Quran if you reject the hadith. That's what. So before you go to the Quran, we need to establish the authenticity and the authority of the Quran. You see my point? You cannot have your cake and eat it. That's the point I'm making. You can't just choose one thing out of the blue. You can't just say Quran is our source of information if you don't substantiate its transmission. So I'm questioning the process. If you reject the hadith, which comes from same individuals who transmitted the Quran, then on what basis do you reject one source and accept the other? That's what my concern is, and that's what I want to discuss. Yeah.
That should be a second separate discussion.
No, this is the discussion.
No, it's not. It's what you're talking about is, in your opinion, this is the implication of us talking about A. We need to talk about A, then we can talk about B.
No, there's no point of talking about something that is controversial, i.e. the transmission of the Quran. In your eyes, it is controversial. In my eyes, it is non-controversial. I am consistent with my standard. I believe the Quran because I believe the Hadith. I believe the Hadith, I believe in its transmission because I believe in the transmission of the Quran. So I am satisfied with both transmissions, and they have been transmitted by the same men. The men who transmitted Hadith to us are the same people who transmitted the Quran to us.
You have
this
both
is what my
processes.
argument.
Yeah.
So before we discuss the Quran and its exegesis, we need to discuss whether it is a valid source of information or not.
Okay, so you're
So
not.
this is
you're
exactly
not,
what I do with the Christians.
So you're not willing to discuss the Quran by itself on the topic.
You want to discuss the exegesis of the Quran, right?
Very simply, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you like to discuss something that has...
That's a different question.
No, it is the question. The first question, look, when the Christians use Bible against me, I ask them to substantiate it. Why is it from God? And then they can't prove it. They struggle to prove it. That's why I tell them, I don't take it as a source of information. It is not authentic in totality.
Okay, can you prove the hadith are from God?
Yes. Once we have that discussion. First we need to see the Quran, whether it has been...
First, these are three different topics, and they're all important topics. Agreed, okay? But
you see them differently, but I don't. I see them intertwined. They are intertwined. You cannot discuss one without the other. So you must have a discussion comprehensively on all of these topics to reach a conclusion. And I believe jumping straight to the Quran without substantiating its transmission, it's like, how can I put it? It's like trying to prove the son without discussing the mother. You want to talk about the son or the daughter, and I'm saying no. Before we discuss the son or the or the daughter, we need to discuss where they came from.
okay, so you're not willing to discuss the Quran by itself. Just a yes or no answer.
Okay, if the discussion leads to a conclusion that the Quran cannot possibly substantiate the authenticity of Hadith literature, then we need to talk, we need to discuss the beginning of the whole process. You understand my point? You understand my point? If you're using the Quran somehow to argue that the Hadith literature is not trustworthy, then I will question your assertion, your very notion of inauthentic Hadith. What standard did you use to reject Hadith? I'm questioning that very standard. The purpose of our discussion is not to discuss the Quran. We both believe in the Quran. You believe in the Quran, I believe in the Quran. The issue is the Hadith. Do you agree?
No, the issue is I wanted you.
Yeah.
And this is an honest thing, just to have discussion on what is your view, is the Quranic basis for that literature, not anything else.
I don't use the Quran primarily. the first thing I do is look at the transmission of the Hadith and the Quran. When we look at the Hadith, we don't look at the Quran. We look at its transmission. The first question, the primary question we address is the transmission of the Hadith. If the Hadith has a weak transmission, we don't even consider it as a Hadith. Do you understand? The Quran is out of the question. We don't even bring the Quran into the question. The first thing we look at is the chain. If the chain is authentic, we accept it. If the chain is weak, then we don't need to talk about it. You see?
Okay,
so that's why.
So that's interesting. And I think what would be interesting to learn is how do you define if the chain is strong? Based upon who?
Just the same standard we used to define the chain of the Quran.
You were going to video him.
If I record like that, I'm recording your chest, but I can't hear you with the microphone. But again, I can record anyone I want to hear, mate. You can walk away from the conversation if you want.
Yeah.
I'm just being courteous, by the way.
Right.
I didn't record you. I was recording down here.
You're having a
With
discussion.
your audio, I can't hear you if I don't.
And it's a public spot.
If I wish, I can record both of you.
If people want to film, let them film. We can't stop them. So the point I'm making is,
So basically, you don't want to discuss it just by itself.
you're not understanding my point.
I understand exactly your point, but you're saying why you want to discuss something else. I'm asking you directly, is it something you discuss just by itself, first of all? You can do other things after that.
Sorry?
Wise man listening to something.
Okay. Yeah. I don't mind discussing the Quran and its authority when it comes to substantiating the Hadith literature. I don't have a problem with that discussion. But before we have that discussion, another discussion needs to take place.
In your opinion.
So that we can both establish, because you have a secondary question in your mind. You think it's secondary, but actually it's primary. The primary reason, the reason why you are discussing, or we are having this discussion, is because you don't believe in the Hadith literature. And the reason why you don't believe in the Hadith literature is because you find allegedly disturbing things in the Hadith literature. So what you do is you throw away the baby with the bathwater.
This is an assumption that's not substantiated.
Okay.
That's not the basis.
We had this discussion last time.
But I did not say that because I'm disturbed by it.
You made this point.
No, I did not.
That there are things in the Hadith literature we cannot believe in.
Oh, well, that is true. That's not a matter of disturbing.
Well, that is the problem. That is the primary issue. The issue is not the authenticity or the strength or the weakness of a certain document. The issue is your mentality, the way you judge a literature, or the standard you use to judge a literature. So if you see something disturbing in the Hadith literature, which is disturbing to you, you think, okay, I have two choices. Either I defend it, which is difficult, or I completely throw away the baby with the bathwater. Just reject it.
Absolutely not the basis of what I'm saying.
Okay, so why did you say that there is some disturbing stuff in the Hadith literature?
That's a by the way, but that's not the basis of it.
No, but I understand that. But that's one of your major concerns, right?
Primary concern is what does the Quran say on the topic. That's number one concern. Now, there may be some other stuff in there where there are issues in the Hadith, and I do believe that that's the case, but that really is secondary.
I believe that's primary. The reason why you question
Difference of opinion.
No. The reason most Hadith rejectors reject the Hadith literature is not because they don't know about the chains or they have reasons to reject Hadith because of the chains. It's because they do not like the content of a certain Hadith, for example.
Well,
right? The age of Aisha is a classic example. The age of Aisha. How can, according to some people, a prophet of God marry a 9 years old? Okay, that's the problem in your mind. So what do? We have two options. Either we defend the literature and the prophet with it, or we throw away the baby with the bathwater. We just get rid of the Hadith. We don't believe in it. It's rubbish. It's all rubbish.
Okay.
So these are the two options you have.
You may be fine.
You choose the latter.
You may be using this argument against others, but that's not the basis of my view. So please don't generalize.
Okay. I'll prove my point. Do you believe Aisha was 9 when she got married to the prophet?
I don't know.
You don't know? Come on. Do you actually? I'm asking. Do you believe? You either do or you don't.
I don't have sufficient knowledge on it to know one way or the other. I know that that's the claim, that actually the marriage was earlier, the consummation was...
Do you believe the claim?
No.
You don't believe the claim. Now that's the point. Why don't you believe the claim?
There's various reasons for that, but I said this is not the
But is
discussion
it?
time.
What's your primary reason? I want to know what's your primary reason. This is a very interesting, and this is the important discussion. Why do you not believe it?
I substantiate that at a different time, but I said now is not the time for discussion.
No problem.
I
It's
didn't
fine.
come-
It's fine.
I didn't
If
come
he's
to
not
offer.
ready, if he's not ready for this discussion, no problem.
I want to organize something. I did not take part.
Okay. Whenever we have the discussion, it will be Marwan. It will be on this very topic. Before we,
Okay, so you don't want to talk about the Quran. It's basically yes or no, that's the question.
No.
Directly, not without talking
you're not
about history
understanding
and
my
hadith
point.
and everything.
I have no problem with talking about the Quran.
But
before we use the Quran to judge the hadith, which is what you want to do, right?
Correct.
Yes? You're using the Quran to judge the hadith. I'm saying, right, before we do that, we need to see whether they are on par with each other when it comes to their transmission. It's a simple question, simple discussion. I want to see whether they are on par or they are parallel to each other in authenticity, the Quran and the hadith. Once we have this discussion, then coming to your point is the secondary concern I have. You want to jump to the secondary first?
No, you just have a different question that you very focused on talking about first. I said I want to talk first of all about the Quran, and if you want to talk about is the hadith literature in general, you can't even talk about that because it's not all one level of anything.
I agree. And that's another question. And we're not addressing that question. You are a hadith rejector. You don't believe in hadith, right? Generally speaking. Generally, you don't believe in Bukhari, Muslim. You don't believe these sources are authentic, right?
Correct.
Now, right. I'm saying they are as authentic as the Quran if we look at the transmission.
I think you'd
Because
be very
the
lonely
same-
in that view, right?
Sorry?
That's not the view that's held, I think, not even by your classical scholars.
Let's talk about it. You want to talk about it now? You want to talk about it now?
The hadith of Muhammad said that whoever lies against me, may he find his seat in Jahannam. You
Yeah.
admitted this hadith is mutawatir, one of the most transmitted hadiths.
I said that this is the general view.
Yes.
It is considered.
Why do you reject this?
And we'll forget about general view. I'm talking to Marwan and you're talking to Adnan. Okay? So I'm concerned. I'm interested in Marwan's view. I don't care about general view.
You're not interested because you only want to talk about one topic if another one's
Marwan,
talking
why
about
do you
first.
reject the hadith? Why do you reject that hadith that I mentioned?
He doesn't.
I don't hold a view one way or the other because that's not a matter of religion for me.
So why do you choose to believe in a verse of the Quran and not believe in that hadith while the transmission is exactly the same?
Exactly.
Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar is when it comes to transmission, it is mutawatir lafzi. Just like the Quran. When we say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, both of these statements have reached us via the same process. So why do you reject one and accept the other? This is what I want to discuss. Before we go to the Quran and start discussing a secondary issue, which is whether the Quran substantiates the authority of hadith or not. I don't want
Are you
to.
worried about that topic?
No, I'm not. I'm very happy to discuss
Tell
it.
us
Believe me,
why
that you will have a lot of trouble trying to prove your point because I know what I'm talking about.
Okay, well,
you don't seem to know.
Why don't you focus on that one topic? So, given that I had so much trouble on it.
No. Look, the reason why I don't want to jump to that topic is because your standard is not consistent. I'm insisting that your use of the Quran is unfair, unjust, inconsistent. And this is what I want to discuss. Before we jump to the Quran, we need to prove it. We need to prove it because you cannot prove it. I can prove it. I believe in the hadith, authentic hadith, and I believe in the
Authentic
Quran.
according to who?
Sorry?
Authentic according to who?
The consensus of the scholars of Islam.
Do you
Bukhari.
Do you
What
understand
about
what
Bukhari?
you're saying?
I understand everything.
Bukhari. I'll give you an example. Bukhari. There are reports in Bukhari that have 3 individuals between the Prophet and Bukhari. Bukhari narrates from his teacher Makki bin Abi Ibrahim. Then we have Yazid ibn Abi Ubayd, and then we have Salma ibn al-Aqwa. 3 people. Makki, Yazid, not Yazid the son of Muawiyah. This is another Yazid, by the way. Yeah? Makki, Yazid, and Salma ibn al-Aqwa. 3 people between Bukhari and the Prophet. The Prophet taught or told Salma whatever he told him. Salma told his student Yazid. Yazid told his student Makki. Makki, who was over a 90 years old man, when Bukhari was a young man, taking the hadith from him, told Bukhari. So where's the problem? Where's the problem in this report? Tell me, in this chain, in this transmission, where's the issue? Why do you reject it?
Actually, I could point out several assumptions associated with that, but again, this is not the time for the discussion.
Well, what are the assumptions? Tell me, is Makki a real person? Is Yazid ibn Abi Ubayd a real person? Is Salma ibn al-Aqwa is a real person? Is the Prophet a real person? If this chain is all real. These men existed, and multiple sources testify to the fact that they existed and they taught in public. And we have independent sources to verify that Bukhari definitely took knowledge from Makki ibn Abi Ibrahim. Then what's the problem?
Marwan, you said you've done your homework from the last discussion you had, remember, a couple of months ago, yeah? So why can't you answer the question that he's posing to you? It's only a simple question.
Because one, this is not the time for discussion now, and two, the homework I've done and preparation is actually to do with the content of the Quran.
I don't want to force him into a discussion he doesn't want to have. No problem.
You came down to him.
I came because I want to talk to him to organize the talk.
Yeah, no problem with that. That's perfectly fine, Marwan. Let's talk about what I'm saying we need to talk about. Because we need to substantiate the Quran. When you use the Quran...
What's going on with you?
I'm all right. We'll talk about it. So we need to have this discussion. Before you use the Quran for anything, you need to substantiate it. Okay? You need to prove it to me. Because I can be a non-Muslim. Allah forbid. A'udhu billah. You know, I'm proud to be a Muslim. Okay? But I can be anyone. And I can question you. How did the Quran come to you? And when you start to substantiate that process, when you start to explain the process of the transmission of the Quran, the qira'at, and the chains of the qira'at, when you see the men, they are the same men who transmitted the hadith to us.
Does that make sense to you?
So, once we have done that, we will go straight to the Quran. And
Okay, so you don't want to talk about the Quran first.
No, I'll tell you why. Once we have discussed the process, that discussion will not be necessary.
Null and void.
It won't be necessary.
That's why I asked
we
you,
won't
do
be
you
having
understand
that discussion.
If
You see the point?
That process needs to be discussed first.
Yeah, the process needs to be discussed.
Because then it would answer
Yeah.
your very question. I mean, it's clear.
The mother needs to be discussed before we discuss the child.
Clearly.
The outcome, the result.
Because
the father and the mother, they met, they spent some time together, and lo and behold, we had a child, right? Before we talk about the child, whether the child is evidence for the mother or the father, we need to discuss the meeting of the mother and the father.
You're not gonna
Right?
discuss Jesus without actually believing in God first, are you? It's not gonna make any sense.
It's like going to Jesus and saying, let's talk about Jesus.
Instead of
Let's
talking
talk
about
about
God.
the origin.
Yes.
The origin of Jesus. Where did he come from?
It's simple.
I told you logically that does not hold, because even, and I don't agree that this is the case, even if they were perfectly authentic, if they don't have a legitimate authority,
Yeah.
it still means that you can't use them.
Okay, that's the point now. Very good. Once we discuss the process and we have reached a conclusion whether the hadith...
I'm not discussing the process first. That's the point right now.
Why not? Are you scared? Like you asked me, am I scared?
It's
Am I
illogical.
scared? Are you scared to discuss the process? Are you
Because
worried that
the process is something that I'm currently in the process of studying in detail. That'll take more time. However,
So how can you make a
Because-
conclusion
because I
on a
started-
certain topic without having studied it?
because I started from the Quran first on that topic.
How can you start with the child and ignoring the mother? How
The
can you?
Quran is not a child. These analogies are not correct.
Do you believe in God?
These are-
Do you believe
Yes,
in God?
yes.
Okay, so you believe in God first, yes, and then you're going to discuss the Quran, correct? What if you start to say that I'm going to discuss the Quran first, but I'm going to discuss God afterwards?
I'll give you an
actually,
example.
that's the position-
Yeah. This is the problem is some atheists come to me and they ask me questions about apostasy in Islam or criminal penalties or things like that. Age of Aisha, things like that. I ask them, do you believe in God? They say no. So why are you discussing these things? If you don't believe in God, these topics don't matter. There's no point of discussing them. So I take them straight to the discussion. Once God and his existence has been established, then we can talk about these branches. Why this, why that, why this, why that. Okay? Likewise, substantiate the Quran to me first. If I come to you and I say, I don't believe in the Quran, I don't believe in it. If I say to you, I don't believe in it, I don't believe Prophet Muhammad taught all of this. It's all made up. It is his companions and later Muslims, like some Orientalists in the University of London, John Wansbrough, he said Quran is an accumulation of the work of certain individuals or certain generations of Muslims. They are the ones who constructed the Quran. And it reached its peak in the time of Abdul Malik bin Marwan. Do you believe that theory?
Nope.
Why not? Why not? Why do you reject it?
Various reasons, but one of them
And
is
what are those reasons? Number one, reason number one.
Once again, this is a topic I'm not coming here to discuss. But we have manuscripts already from the
Marwan,
1st century.
you cannot escape this topic. You cannot honestly have this discussion if you are truly honest about the topic.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Yeah.
Bismillah.
Listen to me. You said you are rejecting this theory on the basis of what? We should have always basis when we reject or
On
when
the
we
basis-
accept.
On the basis
What's
of
the
the
basis?
Quranic statements on it.
What is it? Like what?
Again, this is for a different discussion. I'm coming here to organize something, not to take part in it yet.
He's saying the Quran, he's claiming the
Yeah.
Quran does not give authority to hadith, which we claim it does, right?
Yeah.
For example, the verses you use in the Quran, right?
Yeah.
For example, ما آتاكم الرسول فخذوه وما نهاكم عنه فانتهوا. Okay, these verses and others like these verses do not support hadith. I'm saying, before we have this discussion, we need to discuss the process, the Quran. Okay, how did the Quran come to us? The transmission. Once we discuss the transmission, the hadith will be proved itself.
Because the same.
Because the same men,
exactly,
same
the same
people
men,
who are transmitting the Quran.
the
to
same
us.
men.
So the discussion. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
You know that the Khawarij in the first Islamic Hijri, the first Islamic history, they said something important. Yeah, they rejected the Hadith. They have the same claim. Yeah, they said we have the Quran. Yeah, so they debated Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah. Yeah, they debated him. And then he asked him about certain understanding of different verses of the Quran. What do you understand from this? And then they have no clue. Yeah? And then they said, okay, how the Quran came to you? This is the question. He said, how do you think the Quran came to you? How do you accept the Quran? He said, through people. Of course, we memorize the Quran through people. He said, exactly how you accept it. Their transmission to the Quran, you have to accept their understanding. Which means the way that you got how they delivered the Quran to you, you have to accept those ones, the same ones who delivered the Quran to you, the same ones who delivered the Hadith to you, and the same one who give you as well the understanding of the Quran.
You cannot reject the Quran.
Because if you deny that, you're denying the Quran. It's simple as that.
Because if you use your exegesis of the Quran, you'll be in big problems. Like we had a discussion last time, remember? The Quran says when you have intercourse, in one place it says fattaharu. In the other place it says faghtasilu. Okay? Faghtasilu linguistically means to wash. Wash what? Wash what? You will say it means what? Ghusl? Does it mean ghusl to you?
Does it
mean ghusl to you, or does it mean washing?
Washing any of the involved parts.
Okay, so you're saying just wash your privates. Based upon what?
Whatever is the involved parts.
Based upon what? I mean, where did you get? Why do you?
Upon my understanding
Okay,
of it.
why do you limit? Where does your understanding come from? Why do you limit it to private parts? You said the parts involved. I'm asking, why do you limit it?
That's
Why?
minimally that part, because then you also have wudu.
Okay.
As a general
Why you
practice.
Why are you limiting it to that part? You're
I'm
saying
not limiting. I'm saying if you're involved in an act like that, you have to at least clean the parts that are involved and then do your wudu as well.
that's your view, Marwan.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you very much, Marwan, for your view.
You're welcome.
Why do I have to accept it?
You don't have to accept anything.
Thank you. So,
which
I
means
I have two choices. I accept the transmission of the Quran with its understanding transmitted for me and the Hadith, or I listen to Marwan in the 21st century, 20th of August 2017 in Speakerscorner, Hyde Park. Which option would you like me to choose? Which is more likely?
Choose what you like. I'm not.
I choose the former. I choose the former. Why? It makes more sense. The Quran transmitted by people who transmitted its understanding and the prophetic tradition.
Yes.
I choose that option because I can't just choose the Quran, its text, and reject its understanding and the Hadith literature. It's like picking and choosing, and that's what the Quran condemns. أفتؤمنون ببعض الكتاب وتكفرون ببعض.
Which part am I refuting?
The understanding part.
The understanding.
The Quran says
you're saying
ما
part of the
نزل
kitab.
عليهم
You're saying part of the
لتبين للناس
Okay,
ما
what does
نزل
bayan mean? What does
إليهم.
bayan mean?
Bayan means explanation.
Explanation.
It means explanation.
Bayan
So the
in Arabic
Quran
means
is saying,
explanation.
and you're rejecting all the explanation.
Okay, interesting.
now
That's
here-
not how it's used actually consistently in the
They
Quran.
accept this ayah. لتبين الناس ما نزل إليهم.
Of
Which
course,
means,
I accept it, but I just don't accept the understanding
okay,
of it.
okay. What's the meaning? What do you understand
Again,
from it?
I'm not here for the discussion today.
No problem. No problem.
I think,
Okay, let's have a discussion when you're
We
ready.
should do it by text. I don't mean text message. I mean as in a writing document.
No. I don't have time for that.
We don't have
I don't
time.
have the time for that.
Does
I
it-
simply, I'm going to be very honest. I'm here almost every Sunday when I'm not, when I'm in the country. You can come any Sunday. You can catch me off guard. I'm not going to prepare for it because I am confident enough to have this discussion without having to
just
go
a
and
clear
prepare for it.
conversation.
Because I have studied.
It's not
I
possible
have,
to have a discussion here.
sorry?
It's not possible
Why
to have a
not?
discussion.
Why not?
It's been going on for about 25 minutes now.
No, because this is not a discussion.
It's a normal discussion. If I want to
It's
prove
a human
something, I'll tell you
discussion.
what
Marwan, you had
Talking-
all this time to prepare. You had this on your chest. You came up here and you said that you prepared. You told me you
But he wants to
prepared.
look. But I give it to him. He's honest and courageous enough to come back and say, I want to have a discussion. Let's have a discussion, Marwan. The problem with me is I'm too busy to have a textual discussion. I might as well write a book then in that case. You know,
Is there-
I would rather spend my time writing a
Can
book.
you recommend anyone who would be able to do that?
I doubt anyone who is busy.
I wish I have time.
Yeah.
I myself. So I don't have time.
I'm
That's why
more
they're
than
here,
happy
though.
to
They're
have a
here now.
face-to-face discussion.
Listen.
You can bring your text.
Yeah,
you
I'll
can
read
read
it-
from it.
read
You
it
can
for
read
us.
from it, and I'll respond to it.
Excellent.
Why not?
Point by point.
Because I want your arguments written.
And
so I
then you want to go back and research and respond
So,
to it.
I will
You
tell
want to
you.
do it like that. I understand. I know what he wants
I
to do.
will tell him a good option. Record it.
Recorded here.
Record it, and we will record it, and you write it up, or dedicate some people to write it up,
Against
and
it.
then put it in a text.
Yeah,
As simple.
Marwan, we can have a discussion. You take notes, you go back, do your research, come back, we have another discussion. Even if it takes a year, I don't, you know,
We're here.
You will find us here. Yeah?
Alhamdulillah.
Even if it, I've been here since 2008, nearly 9 years. I'm still here, right? So we can have this discussion for as long as you like, but we should have it in person, face to face. So others, because you know, not everyone likes to read.
Before,
yeah.
there should be a condition for this discussion.
Yeah.
What is the aim of the discussion? Is it to find the truth?
Yeah.
Or is it just only to force the other side
No,
to
no,
be?
no.
So we need to know what's the aim.
The aim of
so
the
before
discussion-
we need to have an aim and objective for the discussion. Otherwise,
in my mind,
I mean,
the aim of the discussion is
to remove the misconception.
to see whether Hadith literature deserves to be given the status it has been given by the Orthodox Muslims for the last 14 centuries, right? Marwan believes no, that's not the case. Hadith literature does not deserve that status because of whatever reasons he wants to express. I believe Hadith literature is absolutely authentic, the authentic Hadith literature, and we have reasons to believe in it. The same reasons we have to believe in the Quran. And this is what I want to discuss. Okay? Let's have that discussion when you're ready.
Well, by text is the preferred way for me.
I can't do that.
Okay, can you refer to any documents that if it was responded to, you would look at?
I can refer you to 100 books, but they are in different languages. Some are in Urdu, some are in the Arabic language. There's hardly anything in English, unfortunately. So most of this stuff is in the Arabic language and the Urdu language. Okay. Actually, this fitna, what we call the rejection of hadith, arose from the Indian subcontinent. It didn't come from the Arabian Peninsula. Okay, so that's why responses are mostly written in the Urdu language. So most of the hadith rejectors, modern hadith rejectors, have come from the Indian subcontinent. There was a man called Ghulam Parvez from Pakistan, and there was another man called.
I hear there is someone in Uzbekistan as well. He's one of the-
all of these people, and some of it came from Egypt, modern Egypt, when the British were governing Egypt. Some of it came from Egypt, but most of it came from Pakistan, and that's why responses are in Urdu. And I'm sure you don't know Urdu, right? I do. I read in Urdu. I have read some books.
Do you know Arabic?
So,
Yes, but I'm developing that, improving it, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah then.
so let's have the discussion we can have and live with that, because I can't indulge myself into a long textual discussion because I don't have the time to do it.
Well, if you can suggest somebody who can, it would be much better for
I
you.
don't know who can. I don't know who can.
Your friend can answer yes or no question very easily.
So when you're ready to have this discussion, Marwan, you're more than welcome to come back here, and we'll have the discussion. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I have to say, I don't find, well, thank you for offering that, but I don't find this kind of a medium as the best way.
It is the best way.
Written is the most accurate way.
No.
Most people don't like to read.
Millions of people watching this.
They're watching.
We will
It's
upload
much
it,
more benefit.
inshallah, and then
It's much more
many people will benefit from it.
See, because it's Marwan, because it's recorded, you can take what notes you want from there. You get it? Anything that
Or you
he's
can watch
mentioned is
the
on
video
there,
later
yes,
on,
and take notes.
research my points,
Yeah.
come back to me, and refute my points,
Or accept it.
or accept it, refute it, and hear my rebuttal.
That makes more
and then
sense.
go back and research on my rebuttal. You can keep coming back.
That's fine.
Most
Maybe.
scholarly discourse in other areas, not even just in religion, is primarily text-based.
Yeah.
Because it's the best way to present your argument in the most logical way, and then somebody can present their argument
Forget logic,
in the best
forget
ways, and then you can respond to that.
Okay,
This verbal thing.
in
is not
that
the way-
case, Marwan, it has been done for the last 100 years. People from that
Scholars, they have dealt with it
they have
already.
dealt with it
It's done, it's done.
conclusively. You just need to read those works. Every single argument you may present here in front of me has been dealt with. There are books in the Arabic language and in the Urdu language, and they're run into thousands of pages. I have a 2-volume set on this very topic in Urdu, and it kind of dismantles. It takes out, ground from under the feet of these rejectors, in my opinion. But the problem is you don't know the language. The Arabic, you can. There's a lot in the Arabic language.
You know he's right. What you're saying. Yeah, okay. Come here then, because Marwan doesn't want to answer a few questions.
We discussed with him before. I mean, we haven't done that.
Marwan said exactly the same thing. There are too many verses in the Quran that actually reject and challenge any other hadith other than the hadith
Do
of
you
Allah.
believe in the Quran?
In its entirety.
Why?
Because Allah says so.
Okay.
Marwan,
And
I'm recording them now,
Allah
so
says
it's going to go up,
How did
okay,
the
mate?
Quran come to you?
Well, how the Quran quotes.
Do you wanna go there, mate?
Allah says in Surah 15, verse 9, and He says,
I know the verse by heart.
well, and that for me is sufficient.
Allah has said it. Now Allah has said it.
Yeah.
How did it happen? Did it come to you in a box from the sky?
How do you know Allah
How
has
did
said
it
it?
come
Move over
to
there a
you?
little bit, mate, please.
How did it come
I'm
to you?
standing there.
How did it come to me?
Yeah.
It came through my parents. The book came, and I had a book, and I just started reading it.
Right. Where did that book come from?
From the time of the Prophet that was passed down. But it wasn't.
Did it always come in the book form?
I think that when it initially came to the Prophet, it came as what would be defined.
In Mauritania, you cannot find a Musaf of the Quran. There are certain places in Mauritania,
Probably is.
there is no hard copy there in the mosques.
Probably.
They memorize the Quran from memory.
Absolutely.
A teacher teaches the students from the memory. I'm asking, where did the Quran come to them from?
No, I'm not saying. No, we're talking about how did it come to the Prophet. It came through what would be.
No, that's how
Who took it from the Prophet?
Through the Wahi, and then the Wahi, then the Prophet was obviously because Allah says in the Quran that He made this Quran easy to learn.
Yes.
So we know that it's easy to memorize it off by heart, but also at the same time that He memorized it, He was put in a text form.
I want you to prove to me that the Quran is from Prophet Muhammad. How would you do it?
I don't have a need to prove that.
No,
It's against. So
I'm asking,
Yeah,
you're claiming to believe in a book.
Yeah,
I'm saying, prove that it came from the Prophet of Islam.
I don't. This is what I'm saying. This is. I can't prove the unseen to anybody.
You can't prove it.
No, what I'm saying is I cannot prove the unseen to anybody. To say
It's not the unseen.